What is up, Waffle Gang? My name is Mark, and welcome to r/Am I the Butthole? If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. A massive thank you, as always, to each and every one of you for coming here today, for liking the video, getting involved, joining me on Twitter, Discord, all that kind of good stuff. It is really, really appreciated. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And with that being said, let's just crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from Quick Village. Am I the arsehole for going to stay at my parents' cabin for a few days after my wife told me she was pregnant? I don't think I am, but she does. This was a planned pregnancy, so it wasn't unexpected, but it's still big news. I'd already been experiencing a lot of anxiety about parenthood and have for some time, even some performance anxiety because of it. But when she told me she was pregnant, it kicked it into overdrive. I felt like I was going to have a panic attack, but more than that, I felt like I just needed to get away from her and the situation, to have some time to think about it. I ended up going to stay at my parents' cabin for a few days, and I think it helped. When I came back, I felt more relaxed and not as anxious. I also had time to really think about the pregnancy and come to terms with it. My wife now says I shouldn't have gone and should have stayed at home to support her. She doesn't feel like what I did was fair, since she also has fears and anxieties, and she thinks prioritise my mental well-being over hers and the baby. I think that's an extreme reaction, since I was only gone a few days, kept in constant contact with her, and came back in a much better state. I can understand why my reaction was probably not what she wanted, but she did tell me that she wouldn't object if I felt like I needed a few days to process things. What I did doesn't seem like something that would make me the arsehole. I don't really think my wife is one either, unless it would be for telling me it was okay to go away and then changing her mind. So I am here asking if anything happened that makes either of us the arsehole. You know, at the start of this post, it says it was a planned pregnancy, and sure, everyone will be anxious about having a baby in their life, being pregnant, and everything that comes with it. But also, imagine you're feeling that way. Imagine how your wife's feeling too. I imagine she's equally as anxious. And what's this stuff about coming to terms with it? You planned it. Surely you come to terms with pregnancy before. And I'm not meaning to downplay anxiety or anything like that, but I'm just trying to picture this scenario of like when the baby actually does come, and that time when the baby is going to be born. Whoo, you're in for a ride, my friend. And I sort of don't get why you couldn't have gone away together, just some time to relax away. Why did it have to be away from your wife? That it doesn't make much sense to me. The person that you love, the person that you're having a baby with, and you just can't see them. I need to get away from you. You're too much to look at right now with a baby inside you. What the fuck? Let's have a look at some of the comments below to see what they say. Kindle fan says, nope, absolutely not. You do not get to act like this. This was a planned pregnancy, which means you both agreed to it and actively worked to achieve it. The second you signed on for unprotected sex, you accepted your well-being is now second place. You're stressed, you're anxious. How do you think your wife feels? She has a literal human being growing inside of her that is dependent on her for everything, and will be dependent on her for a lot of things after it's out. This isn't some sort of abstract for her. It is happening to her literal body and her literal life, and you, the person who agreed to take this journey with her and was an equal contributor to getting it started, walked out at the very beginning. How is your wife supposed to trust you now? How can she believe you're not going to walk out when the baby is screaming, or your child is sick or struggling with school or having disciplinary issues? How can she ever expect or know that you will really and truly stick around when things get hard? Do you understand the element of instability you have now introduced to your wife's life? You don't get to do that. You have issues, fine, see a shrink, but you don't get to do this. You very likely undermine the very foundation of your marriage. You owe your wife an enormous apology. You acknowledge that you're deeply wrong, and that while you have concerns, you address them in exactly the wrong way. Find yourself a therapist if you have stuff to deal with. You're the arsehole. Number 29 says, you're the arsehole. Gut thought is that you abandoned her. You abandoned her and her anxieties. Why in the world are you having a baby if you can't accept the news of a positive pregnancy test? Texas World says, you're the arsehole. You come to terms with death, not a planned pregnancy. If you're experiencing such anxiety that you bailed for several days as soon as you got the news, you had no business trying for a baby. How do you think that made your newly pregnant wife feel, having her partner run away when he heard the news? Now, what do you think of this story? How do you think OP should deal with this now? Do you think they were right to get away to deal with their anxieties? Or do you think they were totally wrong, like most of us? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from Protocol Pro. Am I the arsehole because a co-worker was fired for organising and cleaning my desk without my permission? Yes, you read that right. People are mad at me at work. Let me explain. So we all have cubicles with high walls that are textured where you can hang things. I suck at decor. While some co-workers, including this lady, kept their spaces looking like hotel rooms or whatever, mine wasn't bad, but it was busy. It was set up so I could find everything I needed for work. Well, one day I come into work and all my papers and things were gone. I look in my cabinets and everything is neatly tucked away. I was a little taken back and offended. I get to work an hour early, so I immediately start searching for everything and putting everything back. While I'm looking, someone who is higher up, like an assistant manager, walks by. What's strange is, 1, she's early, 2, she is walking all the way on my side of the floor, where her desk is many rows from mine. So I really think she was there because she saw something after I left the night before. She asked me what's wrong. I tell her someone moved all my stuff. She then tells me to write to the director about it. So I write the email. Remember, management approached me. I didn't go running to them. I proceeded to work. The lady comes in and doesn't say anything to me. At the end of the day, I look in her cubicle and it's cleaned out. Now people are saying I got her fired. She talked to another co-worker claiming she was only trying to help. Keep in mind, I never asked her to clean my desk and she never asked me to clean my own desk either. Management is always putting out emails about cleanliness. People eat and leave food for days. When the director called me into her office, she made a point of telling me my desk was fine. She said the situation had been handled. I never asked for this lady to be fired. I also had no idea who did it. People saw her. Now she's fired and people blame me. Am I the arsehole? Also, this lady wasn't a very good employee overall. She argued with customers and management a lot. She had the rules changed regarding cell phones because she kept FaceTiming her kids while at her desk. You know, I think I'd feel exactly the same as OP in this situation. You know, you come into work the next day, you look at your desk and it's been completely cleaned out and you're just stood there thinking, well, who's done this? Who's tidied up my desk? It makes me feel like people are talking behind my back, and that's not a comfortable place to work once that boundary has been crossed, does it? And not only that, just don't touch my fucking desk. It's my desk. I have it how I like. If the management isn't complaining, you have no right to complain. But it sounds like, you know, the way the assistant manager came walking past you when the desk is somewhere else. It sounds like they were fishing for an excuse to me. Like they wanted rid of her anyway, and this was just the perfect opportunity for them. Because surely you'd get a warning or something beforehand. If you tidy someone's desk up, I can't imagine you'd be just fired for that by itself. I don't know, maybe you would be. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Riri Treetop says, not the arsehole, it sounds like they used her invasion of your desk as an excuse to fire her, but wanted to fire all along. Hunter Rose says, not the arsehole, co-worker stomped boundaries and got what was coming. Also, you can be sure the person was not just fired over this. I'm willing to bet that co-worker had a history of doing what they did. The manager came by because I bet she knew that what co-worker had done and came by to confirm if you'd been okay with it. Just Around Town says, not the arsehole, they took advantage of your experience to get rid of her. If her other performance issues are accurate, she may have already been on an improvement plan and they may have violated it. You didn't decide to let her go, they did. You're not the arsehole, the co-workers are blaming you, are though. Brandy Wilson says, not the arsehole, pretty sure her being respectful with someone's belongings was the icing on the cake for them. They probably were just waiting to fire her for something if she was a bad employee. Pretty weird though, someone just randomly cleaned your desk. Tiki Vic says, this happened to me years ago. I worked as a paraprofessional at a middle school. Came in one morning and a new co-worker had not only tidied my desk, fucking up my entire system of organisation, but also printed out Bible verses and cut them out in lovely cloud shapes and glued them to the wall above my desk. I shared a space with 3 other people. The innocent 2 also got this treatment. With zero coordination, we each upon discovering it untidied our desk and scraped the scripture off the wall. New guy apparently felt unappreciated because he never tried it again. What the hell, man? Gluing Bible verses. Now, what do you guys think of this situation? Do you think that this person was fired because of previous issues and they used this as an excuse? Would you have been happy that they tidied your desk? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is from Blue. Am I the arsehole for pressing charges? My cousin turned 18 recently. She's in high school. She doesn't have a car, and during her birthday weekend, thought her parents were going to buy her one. They didn't get her one and she was pretty upset. I should note I'm not very close with my cousin, or the rest of my extended family for that matter. I only heard about this through the grapevine from my dad. Anyway, my cousin texted me on Friday before her birthday, asking if she can take my car. I just leased a new Ford Escape, to the mall, and then for an out-of-town road trip with her friends over the weekend. I tell her no. She begs and pleads with me. I tell her no again. My car is for me to drive and for me only. If she wants her own car, she can save up and buy one. She calls me a bitch and says that I ruined her birthday and that she's embarrassed because her friends think she got a car for her birthday and she doesn't have one. I don't respond to her and think nothing of it. The weekend comes and I sleep in very late on that Saturday, waking up at 1 PM. Don't judge, lol. Even though my car is parked in my driveway and my gate is closed, I come to realise that someone egged and TP'd my car, with many, many eggs and 5 to 6 rolls of TP. And since the weather was warm outside, the raw eggs baked into my car along with the dried up toilet paper, destroying the paint. Since I have security cameras around my house, I decided to go back and watch. At around 9:30ish that morning, I see my cousin and a bunch of her stupid friends vandalising my car. I'm surprised she didn't smash the windows and poke holes in the tyres too. To save my post from the 3,000 character limit, I obviously pressed charges and my cousin is in legal trouble. Her and her parents are pissed off at me for pressing charges, her parents telling me that she's just a kid and that she's been through a lot of emotional stress doing virtual schooling for this past year, and that I should take that into consideration, and that I should be ashamed of myself for pressing legal charges against my baby cousin, that I'm almost 30 and I don't remember what it was like at that age. I do remember, and I wasn't stupid enough to egg anyone's car, and I can't work something out with me doing like chores around the house for money if I drop charges. That she's young, that she doesn't need a felony on her record, etc., and that it was just a prank. Right after I pressed charges, my cousin was calling and texting me over and over, saying that this could have been avoided had I let her take my car. Am I the arsehole in this situation? I need to add that my cousin already had a felony on her record, a DUI. She's not remorseful of anything. Also, my aunt and uncle will not pay me for the damages, they just want me to drop the charges and pay for everything myself, like nothing happened. They are cheap. Well, no, you're definitely not the arsehole in this situation. I mean, what the hell? She didn't get away at a birthday party, she sounds like an absolute pain in the ass. And that's to put it lightly. And like you said in that story, I was a kid once too, and I can't remember ever going to egg someone's car or damaging someone's property on purpose like that. Being a kid is just not an excuse for shitty behaviour. And I'm sick of seeing it. And you know, she's 18. She's going to have to face the consequences of her actions now. Just tell your aunt and uncle, nope, she's getting sued for a criminal behaviour and that's the end of it. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Penny Whistles Moon Pie says, not the arsehole, sure. You could have spoken with them first before pressing charges. But that last sentence was very telling, that she would text you and basically retroactively threaten you to let her take the car, or she'd vandalise it says a lot about her character, and she'd probably have pressed charges against her at some point in the future anyway. Hopefully she learns a lesson to avoid that happening again. Also, chores around the house to make up for it is called community service, ordered by the judge. Ufitseri says, not the arsehole, please update as well, I want to hear her suffering the consequences of her actions. Beth Sophia says, not the arsehole, I was just a kid once and didn't egg anything. Also, ruined paint on a vehicle isn't something works off with chores, it's something one gets a job and pays for with money. Something Clever says, not the arsehole, your cousin is a gaping arsehole for blaming you, and her parents are arseholes for enabling her BS. Press charges and make her pay for the damage. Lunapic says, not the arsehole, she's 18 and isn't an adult. If she's going to act like that, she can deal with the consequences. Now, what do you think of this situation? How do you think OP should deal with it? Do you think they're right pressing charges, or should they just deal with this with the family? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from a deleted user. Am I the arsehole for saying I won't pay my kid's debt? I have a good amount of money in my name. My job wasn't affected by the 2020 plague. I tried, but I wasn't able to put all my kids through college without them taking out some loans. I would say I paid for about 85% and the rest was paid by my kids, taking loans out in their names. I agreed to help pay off any debt they got if they got a job that uses their major. My first kid got a bachelor's in aviation and got a job as a pilot. Since I was doing well, I paid off all his debts. My son got an engineering bachelor's and well works as an engineer. Paid the debt. Then the twins, one got a degree in teaching and is an art teacher now, so I paid her debt. The other twin got a degree in psychology. She didn't get a job that uses a degree, instead she is a receptionist at an office building. They both graduated in spring 2020. I told her I wasn't paying off her debt and she was well pissed, called me an assortment of colourful names. I could pay it off, but I feel like I already wasted thousands of dollars for a degree that she isn't using. My friends think I should just pay it off since the 2020 plague is happening. I don't think I should because she knew the agreement about paying off the debt. I'm not sure about this, so you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, like, it's kind of rare for you to come out of, getting a degree and jump straight into that profession. I might be totally wrong there. I imagine it does happen sometimes, but something like psychology, I imagine it's like a career path where you have to build up slowly. And, although it's receptionist, let's not downplay that. It might be on the way to a path. You're getting work experience for one, which is very important in itself. But yeah, I don't think I'm too qualified to be talking about this too much. So we're going to jump straight to the comments because I think they might know a bit more than me. Some random letter says, "You're the arsehole. Hey, do whatever you want, but don't be surprised when your relationship with your daughter suffers and possibly ceases to exist." Jaded Cryptographer says, "You're the arsehole because your rule is stupid. Most people don't work in a job that directly uses their degree. There are many jobs out there that just want someone with any college degree. Why do you care anyway? Do you think that she didn't learn anything useful from her years in college? I guarantee you she did. Plus, do you have any idea how rough the job market is right now? You're lucky she is able to find any job at all. Many people are not so lucky, especially new graduates. You're acting as if she intentionally chose not to get a job related to her major." Ex-Word Mum says, "You're the arsehole. Human resources jobs and administrative type positions are very common career paths for people with psychology degrees. As a receptionist, she's not there yet, but she's on the path that could lead her towards an administrative type job. What job, in your view, would count as using a degree in psychology? She's very unlikely to get a job as a counsellor or therapist without a master's degree at the very least. It's an arsehole move to allow her to take this degree without warning her that you would only repay her debt under very specific and, for a psychology major, very hard to achieve conditions." And Lilati says, "You're the arsehole. Psychology is one of those degrees where it's difficult to get into a career branch right after graduation. But that doesn't mean the field isn't both meaningful and lucrative. Just that's a challenge to break into. In addition, no one could have predicted the utter disaster that is the year 2020 and its devastating effects on just about all employment sectors. She would have chosen a degree long before this year opened, and certainly couldn't have changed it last minute. Her awkward position is not her fault. The fact that she's taking work she can find, not just sitting on her duff, whining about being unemployable, means that she's trying to get along as best as she can. You're singling her out for punishment because of the state of the job market right now, something she can't help. If your son the pilot was laid off and could not get work in another airline right away, would you demand the tuition money paid back? Just because your daughter is a secretary today doesn't mean she'll be one forever, but she will always remember how you sneered at her efforts to get by while times were hard, and how your open hand to your other children was a closed fist to her." A great way of putting it there. Assassins and Mermaid says, "You're the arsehole but soft. People don't have to get a job in the field they studied in order to be successful. Plenty of people get jobs unrelated to their degrees, and that doesn't take away from the fact that they completed their degree. If your kid is gainfully employed and you have the ability to pay off their debt, you should." And All Body Parts for Sale says, "I gotta say, you're the arsehole. Under your terms, the only way you're going to pay off her loans is if she gets a position that directly applies to psychology degree, which means that she needs to get a master's and or a PhD. Are you going to pay for that too? Students who have to go to what I call higher learning tend to get jobs in the interim that may or may not have anything at all to do with a degree they currently have because they have to pay for that master's and PhD somehow. That's not the kind of degree that you have an entry-level job with bachelor's unless you do exactly what she's done and go into business by taking a position that could lead but something in administration or HR. We're in the middle of a global pandemic, jobs are pretty skinny, and you're nitpicking on what kind of job she can find with what basically comes to an incomplete degree under your rule. I don't understand why you're not just happy she's got a job and is working instead of sitting around and just waiting for the next section of her academic career to start. I want to go a step further though, because your rule is really damn stupid. There's literally only one person in my entire massive family that uses the degree they got at their first go at college when they were fresh out of high school, and that person went into the medical field and wound up having to enlist because they couldn't find a job, and they had gone past regular level of bachelor's and all the way into nursing school and graduating from there, and still could not find a job. So it's really ridiculous for you to make a rule that hardly anybody follows unless they're going into a speciality field like, and drumroll here, psychology. you should probably take stock of your friends and family and their college degrees and what they actually do for a living. I would wager that unless they're in a speciality field where that higher education is very laser focused, they probably aren't really using the degree unless they went back to school to get something for a promotion. I have two parents that did that, so I don't really qualify them as using degree. They got their careers because they got the career and then went and got the degree. Well, I say they, but my dad still lacks a single math class to get an actual college degree, and even though he's retired, sits on his ass all fucking day, he still refuses to get a single math class. So we're going to end this out with pointing out that you definitely have damaged your relationship with your daughter. And this kind of damage that is going to linger for decades unless you get off your butt and have a little come to Jesus with yourself and fix it. She didn't really do anything wrong, and it's not right to punish her for being able to get a job that she's not qualified for and instead taking a position that she is. Because unless you're willing to help deal with hundreds of thousands of dollars it takes to get a master's or PhD, you don't really have a leg to stand on. God, does it take that amount of money to get a PhD or a master's? Holy moly. Now, what do you guys think of this situation? What do you think OP should do? Do you think they should just pay it out, or do you think they're right to stick to their guns about this? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. You know you are always appreciated on this channel, I hope you do. And if you have a moment, come join us on Discord, loads of lovely people on there who would love to welcome you to our server. I hope I see you in the next one. Take care guys, much love.